Hey guys, back again. We're going to do a little more on the base. This is just going to be grain filler, and it's just going to be on the top. And hey, Casey, like I said, I do have a million hats, so this idea works out fantastic. Funny enough, I don't have any guitar or channel related hats yet, though, so that's going to be something we're going to fix in the not too distant future. But we'll see how that goes. So let me bring you in, and we'll just talk about what we're going to do here quick. There we are. So I did tape off the pocket because I don't want anything getting in there that I'd have to sand out. If anything gets in these cavities, it's not going to be too bad, mainly because they're going to be under pick guards, under pickups, etc., control panels, and I can sand stuff there without worrying about affecting how the neck fits. At least that's what I'm thinking. Again, this is something that I'm just learning. What we have here, I mixed up some good filla. There we go, guys. Ebony grain filler. And I followed instructions and looked online at a couple videos for this stuff. It said to try and get a pancake batter consistency. And I think we've got that. If it's a little loose, that's fine. I hope it's enough. We're only using it on the top because I don't care about the neck or the sides having and why I'm using ebony with the color I'm using on the top. I'm hoping it's going to make this grain pop with the color and give the effect that I want to. But let's be honest, I'm taking advice. I've watched other people, and I'm just doing this for the first time, so I'm gonna make mistakes. I will be happy if it looks semi decent. If it turns out good or even great, I will be ecstatic. But the big part is just taking some time to learn this. So I figured I would start close to the edges and then try and work its way in. I've got a couple implements of stuff to smooth the stuff against the grain because I want it to go in the grain. I've got my paper towels over there ready to wipe off any excess, and I have plugged all the holes with toothpicks because I have no desire to plug these up and have to try and figure out how to re-drill something. I did cover up where the ground wire comes up, mainly because this is going to be under the bridge, so if there's a spot where there's not grain filler, I don't care because nobody's ever going to see it unless they take the bridge off. So let's get started a little bit. Just going to put a little bit on here. I'm going to be careful with this because I did splatter some of it before and got my hands stained pretty good. Thankfully, it came off pretty well, but let's kind of spread it out a little bit. And then as we go to try and get it in the grain, we'll go against the grain. Just to put a little timestamp on this, this is Friday heading into Saturday. Once we get the grain filler spread out on here, I'm going to let it dry. It said at least 3 to 4 hours before you would do anything with it, but I'm going to let it cure overnight and do some sanding on it tomorrow on Saturday and probably try and get the video posted up for Saturday because, as I said before, Father's Day, I'm going to try and take off anything YouTube related other than just resharing the link to my song about my dad because that was supposed to be a Father's Day release last year. It never made it, so we're going to do it on Father's Day this year and then just enjoy my day off. Hopefully, we'll be getting some other things taken care of this weekend that I wanted to, mainly car related, some other errands and stuff, but hopefully a lot of relaxing. We'll see how it goes. I do like how that's looking as I spread this out, that I can see the grain. I think that's going to be perfect because once I sand it back to make it smooth, that is exactly what I want to do with the color that I'm using. And that will be the next video after the sanding is we're going to start putting color on the body. And then I will also be putting the other stain, which should be arriving tomorrow as well. The one that's going to go on the back and sides of the body as well as the neck and headstock. And that will be the other part of the video because I'll get the top of the guitar done with stain, let it dry up, possibly put, I don't know how many coats of the stain. We'll see how the stain looks after a couple coats and whether I want to add more to it or not. Question for you guys. I know well enough not to stain the inside of the neck pocket. I had done some watching with you guys should I tape off the bottom of the neck, at least where it fits in the net pocket, and then just stain everything but that? I've seen other people apply stain to the whole neck, so I wasn't sure if that was something I wanted to do. I just got a little grain filler on the bottom of the neck. I'm going to have to watch myself. See, I'm getting this on my hands. So we're not going to touch anything else, but if anybody can answer that question of what you do with the heel of the neck when you're staining things, I would be very interested in knowing. All right. I am also going to scrape a little, let's get a little more of this on there and try and spread some out. Let's see how far this gets us. This spreads quite a bit further than I thought. I may have made a little too much, but I'd rather have that than not enough. And I've got more left for future projects if I decide to do something that would call for this colored green filler again. All right, so let's start smoothing this out. Probably not hearing anything. I've got the tail end of Jeremy's Strings and Pucks Friday live stream going on behind me. It was a great accompaniment to the end of my workday, and I'm sure it'll be a nice accompaniment to this as well. I'm really trying not to get the grain filler on the side. If I do, it's all right. It won't be the worst thing. I'm just not going to be doing the sides and back totally like this. Wow, this stuff is goopy and a mess. But I got the razor blade out too because I've got some areas where getting in there with this bigger scraper is going to be a problem. So let's see what I can do here. I might speed up some of this if I run out of things to talk about. But again, as with everything I'm doing, as I'm learning, if you guys have any thoughts on how I can learn better, things you would do differently, let me know. I'm going to try and wipe off my fingers a little bit. I'm going to try and get the side here wiped off. I'll have to sand, when I sand back, I'll have to sand this, any spots that I've got this on, because it does not seem like it wants to wipe off very well, but that's fine. A little bit of the scheme I have going for this, if there's a little bit of grain filler on some of the sides, I'm perfectly fine with it. And let's keep going. I'm going to try and get right up to the edges with everything. So yeah, as I scrape that away, you can kind of see when I sand that back how that's going to look. I think that's going to look really cool. And hopefully, I'm going to try and scrape away from the sides this time instead of getting stuff that will goop down to the edges there. Get up close to all the edges of cavities. And then once I have this all covered, I am going to take a towel and try and wipe away the excess because I don't want clumps of this stuff sitting. I just want the grain highlighted enough that I can sand things back. And then we'll see how everything looks. Two things, it's going to make the grain pop, but also from what I understand, this should also help the finish be quite a bit smoother when I start putting the stain on it, to be followed by True Oil, which I know some folks have been shying away from True Oil for a number of things, but I did some reading and found that with a water-based filler and water-based stain, the True Oil shouldn't cause too much problems, especially as I'm not going to be up on lights trying to be under hot lights where some people said that the True Oil just kind of started to come off with the finish. We have a lot of this stuff here. I have way too much here. So this will be interesting. I am going to get what I can done here. There may be a jump cut here towards the end of this as I'm getting some of this muck sorted out. And that's why I did the paint in the net pocket, the tape in the net pocket. So I was at least smart enough to do that, guys. All right. So we're trying to get all of this here. I am definitely going to have to wash up, and I'm really glad I put some of the paper toweling underneath because this is going to be a mess. guys, I think I'm going to cut it here because you don't need to see me clean this stuff up, but we'll come back in a few seconds for you tomorrow for me to sand this up and see what we're really looking at after all is said and done. We'll see you in a few minutes, guys. All right, we are dry. Let's sand this off and see what we got and probably call it a night. I'm just going to take a little nail file here because I do have some areas that were a little extra, and I'm trying to just get the big chunks off. And I'm going to be cleaning up. Yeah, this is a whole bunch of chunks here. And we're going to try and just get those off so I can, before I sand quick. And then we're going to try and sand it back so the only black we're seeing is the grain. Like I said, if this doesn't end up perfect, that's fine. I've already learned that I should be more patient and probably have done a better job of prep work for this grain filler, which I had no idea was such a mess. I do plan to be more careful with the stain when I have it, just as well as having prep work done, but I'm also going to read the instructions a little better, and also possibly at least try and tape off the sides a little bit so I don't end up with a whole bunch of the light color over the edges. And then maybe once I get all the coats of the top coat on, I think I could put a thin line of tape around the top so that when I'm doing the sides, I don't end up getting anything in there. All right, so I did not have a 320 grit sanding block, sanding sponge, but I do have paper, which I have wrapped around a sponge. So we're just going to start sanding this off, and we're going to try and get it so that we can see the wood, because I don't want these extra dark areas down here. I might have to go to some higher grit. Got a paper towel here that we can wipe off as we go so I can see what I'm looking at. Just going to try and get the surface stuff off first and then try and get it back down to the wood, because I have a feeling I'm just rubbing around a lot of the sealer, or grain filler rather, and we'll just get this taken care of. Yeah, it's not coming off as well as I would have thought. Again, I watched videos and doing are two different things. So we're just gonna very quickly go around, and anything that ends up in my cavities, I'm gonna vacuum out after I remove that paper towel. But hopefully this will all come out in the wash, so to speak. I think it's looking like I might have to get a little bit more aggressive with the sanding, or I have way too much grain filler on here, which is also a distinct possibility. Let's wipe this down a little bit again. Get stuff out of here. I'm going to go around the edges too, where I got all the extra grain filler on there. All right. Let's switch the side. All right. Not talking a whole lot here. I don't have too much to talk about. I will probably cut fairly large chunks of this out and make this a short video, just because I don't think you guys need to see a whole bunch of me not talking. You can definitely see where I goofed up on the side here, hoping we get most of that off. And like I said, if I have to, off camera, I think I'll get this as good as I can with you guys on camera. And if I have to off camera, I'm going to just go to town with the sanding, because it'll probably be good for my brain to do some manual work and try and clean this up as best I can. I definitely learned from handling the grain filler that when I do the stain, I am going to be wearing gloves. Because the grain filler at least washed off pretty easily. The stain, I'm not so sure if it will. It is water-based, but better not to take the chance. So yeah, I think I am going to need to get a little more aggressive with stuff here. I don't know if it would be okay to wipe down with anything wet, or if I would just be creating an even bigger mess. So since I'm not going to be hearing from you guys, we're just going to be going with sanding. But yeah, you can see that I have a lot of work to go. So I think we're going to call it there tonight, guys, and off camera, I am going to do more sanding, and you guys can come back in with me when we're ready to start the staining and see the progress we made. Maybe I'll post a picture of how it looks. All right, guys, I'll let you go, and we will talk to you next time.